Okay, here we are today with second period in our first Socratic seminar. We are reading the article about Henrietta Lacks and her immortal cells. And so let's go ahead and just start with some reminders. What do we remember we need to do when we are doing a Socratic seminar? What are some of the expectations?
You don't need to raise your hand.
You're not discussing, you're not arguing.
You're not debating, you're listening to everybody's opinions.
Speak loudly.
Making sure to be open-minded about other people's opinions. Don't get mad at each other.
Hold back beliefs until the seminar is over.
Excellent. Okay, and if you can speak nice and loud, that'll help me with our recording too. Let's go ahead and get started. So let's start with those knowledge questions that you have. What is the title of the book that the article refers to? Who wrote the book? Why was it written? And what are HeLa cells and how have they been used? Go ahead.
The title of the book is The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
And it was written by Rebecca School.
The book might have been written to educate the public on what was happening behind the scenes with studies with the cells and what the scientists were doing with them.
And there was a lot of names and information that was given to mislead the public from who actually was the donor of the cell, so it might have been to clarify who actually was the donor.
I think the actual reason they tried to hide the identity was because she was black and black people were not really respected at that time. So that could have been the reason.
I think the scientists just decided the donor was not important. What was important was the science.
Well, it could always been that they didn't want to give anything or the money or any of that because they just kind of took it without her knowing. Yeah. So it's like technically stealing. That's what I'll say.
Okay, her cells were the first immortal human cells ever grown in culture.
They were used to make like vaccines and stuff, so it could be tested easily, so you don't have to keep taking people's skin off and stuff.
And the cells were taken from a tumor.
I find it strange that the cells never died or ran out. Especially with all the tests going on.
They were caught.
So, no, wasn't it they reproduced the cells just kind of
Yeah,
reproduced?
The cells
They
was
didn't clone.
Yeah, so they used it to like
They used it to clone, but
Yeah.
the
The
cells didn't clone themselves. Yeah, the cells are reproducing.
The cells were called HeLa cells because that was the name. Well, the first letters of the name.
But no one really knows why the cells never died. It was just they kind of got those and went with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like you're talking about their unique cells, right? That there's no other cells that seem to reproduce this way. And were they stolen from Henrietta?
Yeah. In a way, because they were taken from her tumor without her knowing
Yeah,
and
she didn't know.
used to create a multi-billion-dollar industry without her knowing or without her getting any.
Well, she was dead.
Or her family.
Yeah, her family.
Or her
Okay.
family.
So think about that. Did she want the tumor?
No.
She didn't even know.
But to make money off of something that was used to be yours, they should at least tell you, and maybe you can make an agreement about it. But just to take something and just not tell you or give you anything out of it.
Okay, look in your article and see if it explains where the original group collected money, how they made money from Henrietta's cells. The original doctors that collected her cells.
They sold them.
They used them to make polio vaccines.
They used them to see how cells would do in zero gravity.
Okay, so that first one though, we just want to establish about whether or not these cells were stolen for money. Did the original doctors take her cells to make money?
No.
Is that anywhere in the article? In fact, the original doctors made no money on her cells. Okay, so let's keep that in mind as we're reading. So let's look at more analysis here. Why was Henrietta Lacks's family upset?
Because they didn't.
You talk to each other?
They were like on poverty, so then
Can you hear each other? One voice at a time, guys. How would you feel if you found out that one of your deceased relatives had been used for science research without your permission? And what do you think researchers should have done?
I wouldn't be happy with that.
I think they should have stopped the science like that.
I feel like I'm that, and I feel like
Nice and loud so we can hear you.
I feel like I would be mad, and I feel like I would be robbed, like, for my relatives and stuff.
Yeah, and I would want money.
I'd probably sue because if I was living in a dirt poor house and some brother was living on the street, I'd be pretty mad.
I'd be like kind of happy that my mom would still be alive, but not really.
I
Or my mom was alive.
I would have to be like happy, but like angry to know that their cells have been taken with no permission, and now billions and billions of dollars being paid off of the family's cells without the family's permission.
I would be happy, but like angry. No, because like they're used for like a purpose instead of just like just dying. And that would be angry because like, why didn't you tell me first? It's my family.
Yeah.
I would feel like it's obviously for a good cause, but I would feel almost a little bit violated that it was used beyond our notice. Like they wouldn't let us know. That would probably been the right thing to do. At least let them know.
It looks like the author of this article especially seemed really keen to figure out the donor.
Well, wasn't it her teacher or her community college biology class, and then the teacher from that person told them that the real name, but all they did.
By that time, they knew about the name, but they didn't know who the family was or what their position in life was.
They just kind of knew about a name. It's like Google, so it's like, you can't really find it.
So what should they have done?
They should have contacted.
They should have told them the family
Find a contract, told them, and share something. And I dotted.
They should have asked before they took out the cells, like, hey, you have cancer. We're scraping out some of those cells and putting them in a jar. Let's just let you know. FYI.
They should have notified the family so they could get some of the credit for the research and the faith.
But her dad had never even knew her mother, so.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up. Like,
Yeah. Once they found out, they should have told them.
Well, it's kind of like they violated her space because, you know, her body belongs to her and they literally took it.
but you have to think about she didn't want the cancer too, so there's always.
But basically, they should have told her. They didn't.
They didn't even tell
They
Henry
didn't?
either that she was getting that.
They didn't remove the tumor or anything. They just took a little piece for cell testing. So they, even though they were like helping her when they were treating her, they didn't like take it away anything by removing those cells for testing.
Have any of you ever had blood collected or a wart removed or a mole or a scab or something? Did you expect the hospital to give it back to you?
That's just not right.
You don't want your scabs back?
No.
The dentist, yeah, when they...
Them to flush it
Yeah,
down the
but
toilet.
using it to make profit off
So-
it without anyone's
But
permission.
they
That's different.
They weren't planning on.
But when someone's taking your blood, you kind of know what they're doing. You feel like, oh look, leaking. But when someone's taking the scab, you don't really. They probably knocked her out, so she didn't like. Since you're going through surgery or something, they probably had to knock her out, and they didn't tell her, so there's a problem.
She didn't know anything.
They didn't like notify her at all, and she never agreed that she was volunteering to give it to the hospital, as in many situations where the blood is taken from someone or a scab. you were volunteering, and you sign a contract, I think, to volunteer to give the blood or whatever you're giving.
So what do you think are benefits of collecting people's cells? Why should we do it?
You can get new information that you never had before.
It helps to advance science.
Like, that's never
And you can find another Henrietta cell, Hella cell. So then it helps. And then this time we know, hopefully.
Well, this is actually kind of interesting. Could there be, are these Hella cells like kind of like superhuman cells or something?
We've never found any other cells like them.
So could there be anyone around that?
It's possible, but her cancer is unlike any other type that has ever been found. They're the first immortal cells. They've been able to artificially make some that are similar, but nothing reproduces the way that the HeLa, the Henrietta Lacks cells do.
Well, then wouldn't that mean not her herself cells were like that, but the cancer was like that? So then technically they weren't stealing from her.
It was,
It wasn't her cells.
well, they were her strange cancer cells, but yeah, that's what scientists could certainly argue.
Well, I think it's a good thing as long as to take real human cells as long as permission is given, because animal cells won't cope with diseases or chemicals the way human cells would cope. So it's necessary to take actual human cells to get accurate results.
Also, they could have used, taken the whole tumor, because that would just help her, and that would help them. So,
One of the family members was homeless, so he didn't really know about the cells because he was homeless.
So what do you think are the concerns about collecting people's cells for research?
So, like, they could get hurt if something goes wrong, and if, like, something goes wrong with it, the people that are collecting the cells would, I don't know the word, it's like,
Be sued.
yes.
and they also could feel uncomfortable with the idea, even if the scientists know that it could be used for a good cause or to go ahead with research and maybe find a cure for some other disease or something.
So let's talk about those last ones. What do you think are kind of the bigger moral issues going on? Okay, on your blue paper we talked about, should scientists use people's cells without their permission? And what ethical implications should there be?
Well, without their permission, that would be bad. But like with their permission and they're okay with it, they're like, yeah, sure, science. They're like, then that's okay because they want. Well, yeah, they want.
And also, kind of like the legal tell them, like not tell them if they're taking out someone's part of their body, not back then.
To test it.
It was probably along those lines.
Well, if they're using it to help that person, then I would say, like, that's all right. But it's to help the person they're taking from.
The thing is, it didn't really help her because they didn't take the whole tumor.
Well, not
The tumor was still
necessarily
there.
in that case, but in other cases it could help.
I mean, but you
Yeah,
have
it
to
could-
tell the person.
Yeah, it
Yeah, you have to
but it
get
also
their
didn't
consent.
help her.
Yeah.
I don't know see how it
I
helped
think
her.
it did.
It's like, but no, they didn't take the whole tumor. Because it's like someone taking your kidney and be like, they make millions of dollars because it's the best kidney in the world and it reproduces. And so,
You should be proud of it.
no, but and then they're making millions of dollars and you're living in a box. Yeah. You're gonna be pretty mad about that.
I don't think that really helped her at all because her inheritance, she died, I mean, anyway.
They should be famous.
And her inheritance, her inheritance did not get passed down to,
Does the article talk about the timeline at all?
1951.
So do we know from when Henrietta had the cells collected to when they started to become a big deal? Do we know what the time frame is?
1951 to
Well, her main didn't get to the 1970s.
Yeah, but they got big when like
1988.
No, that was
Okay, so the article is probably missing some of that information because it comes from a larger book. But Henrietta's cells were collected and then they were grown at the university, and the university didn't even quite know what all they had until more time went along. They're donating them to other people, trying to other researchers, see what happens with them. And so it really didn't become this multi-million, billion-dollar thing for many years. And then people are working with something called HeLa cells. They don't even know who Henrietta is to make an issue over her cells. Henrietta's long dead. She had cervical cancer, and they couldn't remove the cervix. And so what they did was they did radiation therapy on her cells. So they'd done a collection to kind of see what the cells were, but they couldn't have removed it entirely. They did try to treat her, but she ended up dying anyway.
And when she was young, she died. So she died about 28, and so she didn't really know what was going on at the time. She was just living in a box in the hospital. So she didn't get much food and the rest of it. So
No, it was living at home. It was boring, dirt or
it's just an
example.
yeah.
I was thinking, so there are some real ethical concerns in cellular research because, like, some people, even with high education in America, are still superstitious in some ways about what could be created by research that's done to their cells, and they don't want their cell. And some people may be even superstitious enough to be thinking, oh, my cells are going to be used to create a super disease that's going to kill half the world.
Yeah.
I know, maybe they feel like it violates their beliefs in a lot of different ways, and they want to prevent other people from doing that.
Yeah, and for some people, the idea of cellular cloning is just creepy. And that's kind of
I mean, to know that you're being cloned and know that you could be walking around kind of creeps you out. It's like your mom. She's like, who are you? You just walk in and you see this person who looks exactly like your mom, but she doesn't know who you are. You kind of creeped out, like, we're just gonna walk over there.
Your long lost mom.
Well, cellular cloning could be a really big advancement in technology because you could take part of someone's kidney and grow another one. Just in case that one fails, you can just, oh, here, we have another one for you.
But wouldn't that mean we would start immortal life? Because if we keep replacing things, we're not gonna die.
well, it all depends on if the person wants to be cloned or not.
Yeah, but that would kind of call it something.
Okay, so it sounds like we have gone from the science to now part of the science fiction with our cloning people and having them walk around the world. But you guys did a great job. Give yourselves a round of applause.